Good morning. It's down there 3 o'clock in the morning here in the UK. It's too muggy to really sleep. I think I basically went to bed about 11 o'clock anyway. My partner and I had a very good night watching a few films. We watched Close to the Edge, a documentary of the 2012 Isle of Man TT motorcycle road race, which I've seen many times before. I got it on Blu-ray from a charity shop, and it's a really good film. Those riders are different breed. They risk everything more for honour than anything else because the pay's not that good. Average speeds of 170 miles an hour or something like that on country roads with dry stone walls and sharp turns. How do they do that? I mean, I spent a lot of years on motorcycles myself, but it's amazing. And, some of the characters involve Guy Martin, which I believe many of you will be familiar with from his TV work. Back then, he was a Isle of Man TT rider. Yeah. And then we watched a classic from 2002, Ghost Ship, with Gabriel Byrne, Carl Urban, and of course Emily Browning, Scream Queen. Interesting fact, the sultry Italian songstress in the red dress, she is an Italian TV personality and soap. Well, she was a soap actress before she moved on to chat shows and travelogues and things like that. And almost exactly a decade later, she was on board the ferry that capsized, doing a documentary. I forget the name of it, but yeah. So that's a weird kind of little coincidence thing. Wish I could remember the name of it, but my phone is there, so I can't Google. Then, because we'd already watched one film with Emily Browning in, my partner put on Sucker Punch because she really likes that. So did I. I watched the first bit and then thought, you know what, it's about 11 o'clock. I've had a good meal. I've drunk for me an average amount, and now I want to go to bed, so I did. Trouble is, when I go to bed early, I end up waking up at stupid o'clock in the morning. As one of Britain's certainly most famous, and I would say most talented military men and generals, was known to say, when it's time to turn over, it's time to turn out. Because if he woke up 2 o'clock in the morning, even if he'd gone to bed at 11, he'd get up and get on with some paperwork or something. That was just the kind of man he was. Fascinating man indeed. A man who, unlike many others, such as Eisenhower, unlike many others, Wellington seemed to have made a relatively successful transition into politics. Eisenhower kind of didn't really, in my opinion. And of course, there were several 19th century American generals that also made that transition. They're more debatable, I think. And of course, Churchill was a military man. There was his transition. In wartime, his transition was successful. In peacetime, not so much, I would say. And Winston Churchill was, in a lot of ways, quite the controversial figure, in my opinion. What else is there to say? I keep meaning to get back into doing another gaming stream. I haven't got back into feeling comfortable enough with World of Tanks yet. It's been a while. So yeah. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla on and off. That's more difficult for me to film because I work very basically with just my phone camera here. Right. Let's get that second cup of coffee, shall we? Oh. For my American friends, this house we currently rent a flat in was built in 1888. Hence the rather high ceilings. It's a false perspective thing they used. You know, in order to change that light bulb, I have to get a step ladder. Ow. Yeah, clumsy me, I just put my arm over the steaming kettle, didn't I? What a plonker. Also, big shout out to Karina Share and Darren Smith probably as well, who are at Bloodstock Festival. It's a rock and metal festival in the Midlands. Hope you're having a good time there, people. Wish I could be there, but you know, financial shit being the way it is. My sauce, Scotch Bonnet Hot, made by a local producer. Nice chap, bought that a while ago. It goes lovely with any kind of meat, really does. So yeah. Oof. So what plans do I have for tomorrow? Well, I'll go for a walk first thing in the morning. Well, about 8:30-ish. I'll turn my lighter down. Weather permitting, I may do a bit of exercise. If my partner feels like I wander through town, I'll go with her. If not, I will go for a wander through town myself. Do some chit-chatting. Socialise a bit, you know. Due to being down to a couple of quid left, I don't think that socialising will include any afternoon pints. Afternoon beers to our American friends. I think I can hear some of the late nighters staggering home outside. Where I live here, it's quite the thoroughfare back from town. So you'll often hear people at the weekend staggering home. Although they don't sound too bad. Yeah. I had a really good day yesterday. Good couple of days, I must admit. Friday, the boss of Chip, where I'm still kind of unofficially volunteer, asked me to get rid of some more stuff that had just been down in the cellar. It was stuff that traders had left and never come back for. And I got rid of one lot to the charity shop that I volunteer in once a week. And then the next day, Friday, so Thursday and Friday I did this, he gave me another lot. Went down to MAS on Friday. They'd just done a massive house clearance and had no room. And the deal they had with a local fabric and clothing manufacturer for any stuff that they couldn't sell fabric wise kind of wasn't paying off enough. So I was like, told her they didn't want it. He said I had to try other charity shops, and I thought, oh, it's a bit hot. But then I popped into Car Street pop-up shops where I have a few friends. Shout out to Cookie Barista, shout out to Blimmin' hell, Paul Longstaff Stall. I'm terrible. And shout out to many of the others. It's well worth a look through if you happen to be in Ipswich. And I reckon 3/4 of that stuff, the girls who run stalls there, 3 of them were like, oh yeah, we can sell that. And the big and heavy bag of fabric scraps someone was like, oh, Molly, who runs Feather, Leather and Bone, will have that because she sometimes does, quilting, patchwork quilts. My partner does that occasionally, but she's got enough scraps already. And they took what they needed, and what was left over went to another charity shop. So I cleared it all, which Ed was thanked me a lot for. And then I got a text yesterday morning, because it's now Sunday morning, from Carol, who's looking after Molly's stall while she's on holiday. And he said, we'll club together, we're going to give you 15 quid for what you got for us yesterday. And I was like, oh, cheers, thanks. So yesterday lunchtime, I went into town. I already had breakfast. I had 2 eggs at mid-morning, boiled, with 2 slices of bread. And I thought, right, I'm going to go down the Lord Nelson. So I did. And I had 1 pint in the Nelson. I was in there for... No, rewind. I did my volunteer 2 or 3 hours at the charity shop, 11 till about 2. So, 3 hours. I rearranged the bookshelves into alphabetical order and dusted them. My partner looked at me when I got in and said I was doing that, and I was like, don't expect me to do it around here. You moan if I clear the cobwebs. And I picked up a book I am going to be looking at with you guys, and girls, because it's most interesting. The house clearance, I think it was a bit of a treasure trove, but because the gentleman had living relatives, a lot of the really good stuff they'd already got. We think there was antique firearms and things like that involved. The gentleman had a huge interest in history because some really good history books came up. I picked up 2 books. One of which, an encyclopedia of antique firearms published in the early 1960s, is fascinating. Some of the things over the years that people have designed. But anyway, that is a video to look forward to in the future. And then I went, right, finished my shift. Went and got pizza for lunch. Very nice, yet again from the pop-up shops. Very reasonably priced, nice big slice of pizza that the guy will sprinkle Parmesan cheese on for you. Oh, marvellous. Mwah. Bellissimo. Ciao. You gotta wave your hands when you're doing Italian, haven't you? You gotta be like that. So I thought, right, I think I fancy a pint, hair of the dog, as it were. After an impromptu house party Friday night, I was a little bit, oof. It's a Friday night. I'm British, that's what we do. Went down the Lord Nelson. Chatted away with the regulars, chatted away with the bar staff, started reading the book, which I still had in my bag. I was like, oh my word, look at this. And like, what on earth? Genuinely interested. Had me pint, and then I thought, right, actually, I don't feel like another. I thought about staying for a second, but I thought, no, I've got other places to go where alcohol is not involved. And maybe I'll stop off at one of the other pubs I use. Maybe, but I didn't end up doing that. I went from there to Geek Retreat, which is a local coffee shop, cafe and place for people to go sit and play Magic the Gathering, board games, role-playing games, and it sells all the stuff you need as well. Very welcoming place. I fit in there really well. I had a coffee in there. And, you know, chatted to a few people in town. And eventually made my way home. And my partner was really impressed that literally all I had out of that 15 quid was 1 pint. Oh, and I stopped in at the Nerd Hut as well, which is another kind of like place that sells card games, board games, tabletop, miniature games, you know, along the lines of Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000. And was, you know, regaling them with this book. But I was doing the same in Geek Retreat. They're like, really? Someone thought that was a good idea? Honestly, mate, I'm going to do a video on that book and share it with you guys. It's really cool. One thing I did notice is I haven't read much of it. I've just been looking at the pictures. But I read one passage. It was on Native American Indian firearms. This book was written in the 1960s, where apparently it was acceptable to be entirely racist. The excerpt I read was that on Native Americans and firearms, the uncivilized barbarians soon adapted to European firearms. What? You couldn't say that these days, could you? Not if you wanted to keep your job. Cool. So yeah, that's one I look forward to. Yeah. Life has been good the last few days. There's been no real upsets. And just the chance for a little bit of freedom. Spending my weekend just ambling. Relaxing. And being a human being in places where I feel welcome. That's a good feeling. Because I still hold with the idea that I'm not everyone's cup of tea or cup of coffee, if you like. There are going to be places where I just do not fit in. With me, with my mental health differences, there are going to be many places where I do not fit in. I accept that. There need to be more people who do, I think, because we're living in a world where people need to understand that not everyone fits in everywhere. Tolerance has its limits, I'm afraid. And I wish that were different. In an ideal world, everyone would be welcome everywhere. And nobody would judge anyone else and we'd all get along. But that is not, unfortunately, how human beings are made. Is it learned behaviour? Is it instinctual? I don't know. Feel free to discuss in the comments. But I just feel that you need to find places you fit. You need to find places where you feel safe and welcome. You need to find places where you aren't judged as harshly as sometimes the real world judges people like myself. Once you find those places, don't take them for granted. That's my advice anyway. Because if you take places and people and places, I think people are more important. If you take the people and places that make you feel safe, welcome, and confident, and you take them for granted, you could lose them. And you may not even notice you're losing them before they're gone. I think that's about all I've got to say this morning for now. Thank you very much. I mean, I hope my loyal viewers will see that I'm coming through it. I'm calming down a bit. But that's because I've had a really good couple of days. There's been a couple of negative points in the last few days, but I don't really wish to talk about them. Let's just spread some positivity. That's a good word. Well, have this coffee. Make another one. I always start my day with 3 cups of coffee. And then maybe play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think. So you look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you again soon.